It is difficult to imagine anyone who understood the genius of the Beatles better than their legendary producer, George Martin. Over the course of more than a decade, Martin was far more than a producer. He served as a mentor, arranger, and creative partner who helped transform the ambitious ideas of four young musicians from Liverpool into some of the most influential recordings ever made. That is why, when Martin described one Beatles song as the icon of an era, his words carried a significance that few others could match. While Martin naturally had a deep affection for the Beatles' work, he was never blind to their flaws. He often acted as the voice of reason when the band ventured too far into experimental territory or pursued ideas that seemed impossible to realize in the recording studio. Yet, it was precisely this creative tension that helped produce some of the most groundbreaking music in popular culture. His arrangements on songs such as Eleanor Rigby demonstrated that pop music could be treated with the same artistic seriousness as classical composition. The dramatic string accompaniment transformed the song into something that felt closer to chamber music than a conventional pop record. Even among a catalog overflowing with masterpieces, however, Martin understood that only a select few songs possessed the rare ability to endure for generations. Ironically, there was little indication of that future when the Beatles first walked into Abbey Road Studios in the early 1960s. At the time, they were simply four energetic young men obsessed with American rock and roll. Martin recognized their charisma and musical instincts, but nobody could have predicted that they would eventually reshape the entire landscape of popular music. As their songwriting evolved, each new release seemed to push creative boundaries further. Tracks such as Please Please Me and From Me to You showcased the extraordinary melodic gifts of Lennon and McCartney. Even the smallest innovations, a new chord progression or an unexpected harmony, gave listeners the sense that the Beatles were constantly moving forward. Not every experiment was successful. There were occasional B-sides and album tracks that failed to reach the heights of their finest work. Yet Martin rarely shied away from a challenge. Whenever the band arrived with an idea that seemed technically impossible, he approached it as a problem to be solved rather than a limitation to be accepted. The result was revolutionary recordings such as Tomorrow Never Knows and Strawberry Fields Forever. These songs were far more than rock records. They became blueprints for the psychedelic movement that would dominate the latter half of the 1960s. Through tape loops, unconventional structures, and innovative studio techniques, the Beatles and Martin expanded the possibilities of what recorded music could achieve. Long before those psychedelic masterpieces, however, Martin's greatest strength lay in his ability to create elegant arrangements. He instinctively understood how to shape the emotional atmosphere of a ballad. On a hard day's night, songs such as If I Fell and I Love Her revealed a softer, more sophisticated side of the group. Then came a song unlike anything the Beatles had previously recorded, Yesterday. From the moment he heard it, Martin realized the composition required a unique approach. The melody was too beautiful to be confined to the standard rock band format. Instead, he suggested adding a string quartet, a decision that was considered remarkably bold for a pop recording in 1965. There was a risk that the arrangement might drift into easy listening territory. However, Martin sensed something timeless in the song. Beneath its simplicity lay a quality found in the finest jazz standards and classical compositions, music capable of transcending trends and remaining relevant across generations. Yesterday does not rely on fashions or cultural movements for its appeal. Its enduring strength lies entirely in its melody and emotional honesty. Equally impressive was the contribution of Paul McCartney. Although he lacked formal training in orchestral arranging, McCartney possessed an extraordinary musical intuition. His ideas for the string parts impressed Martin greatly, and together they crafted a recording that sounded deceptively simple while carrying immense emotional depth. Decades later, when Martin and his son, Giles Martin, were assembling the soundtrack for Love, created in collaboration with Cirque du Soleil, they faced an important question. Should Yesterday be included? The song had already been heard countless times around the world. It was one of the most famous compositions ever written, and there was a concern that audiences might have become too familiar with it. Yet Martin ultimately concluded that leaving it out would have been impossible. Reflecting on the decision, he described Yesterday as the icon of an era. For Martin, it represented much more than a successful pop song. It embodied a particular moment in cultural history while simultaneously remaining timeless. Its direct simplicity continued to resonate emotionally with listeners decades after its release. In the Love production, Yesterday was introduced through guitar passages taken from Blackbird. The pairing proved remarkably effective. The transition between the two songs felt natural and seamless, highlighting the connection between different stages of McCartney's artistic development. Yesterday represented a turning point, the moment when the Beatles first ventured beyond the boundaries of conventional rock instrumentation. Blackbird, meanwhile, showcased how far McCartney had progressed as both a songwriter and guitarist by the end of the band's career. Together, the songs formed a musical bridge spanning some of the most important years in the Beatles' evolution. To this day, Blackbird remains one of the most admired acoustic guitar compositions ever recorded, inspiring generations of musicians. Yet when it comes to universal appeal, Yesterday occupies a category all its own. The song has been covered hundreds of times by artists from virtually every genre imaginable, including jazz, country, classical, and pop. Its opening melody is instantly recognizable. Its themes of loss, regret, longing, and memory are universal human experiences that transcend age, nationality, and culture. Perhaps that is why George Martin felt so strongly about its significance. Many great songs emerged during the 1960s, and countless classics continue to be celebrated today. Yet only a handful possess the rare ability to move listeners, regardless of background, generation, or musical preference. Ultimately, both Yesterday and Blackbird are masterpieces in their own right. Each represents a different aspect of Paul McCartney's songwriting genius. But there is something uniquely enduring about Yesterday. It requires no elaborate production, no technical knowledge, and no understanding of music theory to appreciate. Its beauty is immediate and unmistakable. That may be the true measure of a timeless song. You can play it for a professional musician, a casual listener, or even someone with little interest in music, and they will still recognize something profoundly moving within it. More than 60 years after it was written, Yesterday continues to prove that George Martin was right. It is not merely a great Beatles song, it is an icon of an era.